Good morning. Okay, we're going to do a new 5 minute for the feet. So we're going to think about where our toes are, and we're going to think about where the ball toe mound of the foot is. And when we go along our work, we're going to just try to roughly line up with those toe lines when we work into the ball of the foot. You will want a tennis ball or a myofascial release ball, possibly a yoga block that's just going to be a little bit of a height maker or space saver, and then a little throw pillow, just something for comfort. All right, so find your way to your comfortable seated position. The foot's that's not getting any work right now. We're just going to let that pillow rest on that foot to increase a little bit of feeling of gentle compression and a little feeling of warmth. Then we're going to take the other foot, and you might work from the yoga block if it brings a little bit of height and makes the work available. And you're going to just start with a slow, soft roll to the ball toe mound of the foot. Just little circles, little circles. You can hold the leg up, support it in any way that makes sense. Today, we are going to attempt to approach putting a little bit of pressure on the ball toe mound, but you're always going to use your breath as a barometer. So you're going to get there and you're going to take a nice big breath. And if you feel like it's painful, you're going to come off of it right away. We're not interested in putting any extra pain into our body. All right, so now you're going to see if you can just let your heel land on the ground or the block, and you're going to let the weight of your foot just kind of soften over the ball. And I've got mine lined up roughly with that big toe ball toe mound. And then you're going to see if you can just take little gentle wiggles of the toes up and down. And you're going to notice your breath. All right, now you're going to see if you can move it down just a touch so that it comes underneath the second toe. And then you're just going to see how that feels. And you're just going to do a little wiggle of the toes up and down. Nice. Okay, now you're going to move it down so it's roughly in line with that third toe. And you're just going to wiggle the toes up and down. Great. Now you're going to move it on down so it's roughly in line with that fourth toe. And you're going to wiggle your toes up and down. Wonderful. Now you're going to move it down so it's roughly in line with that pinky toe, and you're just going to wiggle the toes up and down. Wonderful. One more wiggle up and down. And now we're going to move down just a touch. So you're going to be in the space between the big toe, second toe, in that ball toe mound, maybe slightly under the curve of that ball toe mound. And then you're going to see, how does it feel to put a little bit of that forward body weight? Can you let your foot rest comfortably over the ball? Can you take a nice big breath? Can you wiggle your toes up and down with that slight bit of forward compression? If that doesn't feel good, you're going to leave it off. But if it feels nice, take a few moments there, give your toes a little twinkle, a little wiggle, check in with your breath. Now, the most advanced part of our work, your heel is going to stay connected to the floor, to your yoga block, and you're just going to see if you can roll the ball toe mound of your foot across the ball with a gentle application of pressure. You can use your hand to manipulate the leg and just let it roll, roll, roll. Take one or two more good soft rolls. And then just to release, we're just going to take a soft and gentle roll through the length of the foot. All right, and then once you've gently rolled the length of that foot, we're going to take all of that work over to the other side. So now you're going to let that foot that just got all that nice work done, put the pillow on top of it, keep it nice and warm, keep it lightly and gently compressed. Move your yoga block if you're using a yoga block and get your tennis ball. Now we're going to go tennis ball underneath the ball toe mound of the foot. And then you're just going to see how that lands for a second. And then you're going to see if you can move that tennis ball intentionally so that it comes underneath that big toe ball mound. And then you're just going to see if you can add just a little bit of a wiggle of the foot. And then if we didn't already do it, maybe just that quick soft roll just to make sure everything's feeling good. So you want that assessment, you want that check-in, you want to make sure you know how your foot is feeling before you go diving in. And then if you're like, oh yeah, that feels pretty good, get it underneath that ball toe mound and then add that little wiggle of the toes up and down. Notice your breath. Nice. All right, now you're going to move it down, let's say second toe line, and you're going to put a little bit of that gentle pressure, and then you're going to find that wiggle of the toes up and down. Nice. And then when you're ready, move it on down to that third toe line. Wiggle the toes. And then when you're ready, move it down to that fourth toe line and wiggle your toes. Excellent. And then when you're ready, move it down to that pinky toe line and wiggle the toes. Great. One more wiggle of the toes. And now we're going to move it back down so it comes into that area between big toe, second toe, the ball toe mound, or slightly under the curve of the ball toe mound. There's this little sweet spot there that it kind of hugs into nicely. And then you're just going to see, does it feel nice to put a little bit of that forward body weight? Maybe not. Maybe the other foot felt good and this one doesn't. We're going to honor what goes on. We're never going to just force ourselves into doing anything. Fascia only wants to collaborate. It doesn't want to be forced. All right, so find the position here that feels good. And then once you've got that gentle bit of compression, could you wiggle your toes up and down just a touch? Notice your breath. All right, and then if all feels good, that last little advanced move, we keep the heel connected to the ground or the block, and we pivot the ball of the foot. You can use your hand to do a little manipulating, so you can move the foot across the ball using your hand, or just guide it with a little slow and soft, gentle awareness to your breath. So even as we go here, you're moving things, you want to make sure you're breathing comfortably. Wonderful. One more little glide across that foot, and then maybe you take it into just a soft, slow roll across the bottom of the foot just to make sure everything feels good. And then once you've rolled the foot just enough, you're going to take a moment to put both feet on the ground. You're going to take that pillow and you're going to just put it on top of both the toes. And then you're just going to sit back for a moment. Allow your feet a moment to just soften, breathe. And then when you feel ready, give your toes a little twinkle, sit up nice and tall, and you're ready to get on with the rest of the day. Now, this one, again, you can repeat as many times as you like. You can go foot to foot to foot to foot to foot. You can take it as many times as you like, as long as it feels good. If you're breathing comfortably and everything feels like it's remaining pain-free, aces, carry on. I hope that feels good. And then we'll go a little further once that feels like it's a really good work for you.